No, there's no unwritten law that she didn't know about. All the laws are written. And I hear she studied law at some point. I'm not sure, but I hear. So I imagine she knows about these things. We confronted the speaker numerous times, even on the floor of parliament, and said, look, this corruption has now gotten to very astronomical levels in the commission, in your office. And her excuse, her convenient excuse was, you people are being used by homosexuals to fight me and so on. And we said, forget I don't know why you like homosexuals so much and always talk about them and use them as a scapegoat. The issues we are raising are here on paper. You cannot be misusing taxpayer money like this. You know that you're buying generators. They bought generators for her office, for her home and the home, not office. Generator for herself and the deputy speaker, each nearly about 300 million shillings for their private homes. How does that make sense? An electric fence was constructed at her private home in Bukedia. About 600 million shillings. That's a private home. How does that make sense? She awarded her radio station in Bukedia a contract worth 3.1 billion shillings, apparently to run adverts of parliament and all of these different things. And I said, was there bidding by other media houses so that we get the most qualified, the one with the biggest coverage and all of those different things? There was none. The people who signed on the contract were staff in her office, signing off as managers. And many other ridiculous things, that billions of shillings were being put on accounts of staff of parliament. Chris Obore, 4 I don't know how many billion shillings, and all these others. They would go, withdraw, and then take to her home. There's no way these things can be right. And whenever we talked about these issues, people were saying, you, Joel, you hate the speaker, and so on. I said, look, there's no reason anyway I must have to like her. But whether I hate her or not, the issues of concern are here. Why are they not being responded to? It reminded me of the time when I was Kosase chairperson. At the time we were investigating Uganda Airlines, among other entities. And we were going after the then CEO, Jennifer Bamuturaki. It was the same talk. Joel doesn't like government, so he doesn't like this government official and so on. He's malicious. But I said, it's only a matter of time. All these things will get unraveled. So here we are today. I don't know if there's a best time to fight corruption and a bad time. Corruption has got to always be confronted head on. But again, as I have said, this regime is not interested in fighting corruption. And while I am happy that the Speaker of Parliament is being called to order, because these are things I have been screaming my voice hoarse to an extent that she began to target me as an individual, trying to bring a law to push me out and many, many different things, yeah? So I am happy that she's being called to order, but I'm not overly excited. Like I've seen some people getting overly excited that now this is a serious fight against corruption. No, please do not be hoodwinked. Because there is a plethora of other corrupt people. Can we see them being called to order? Powerful officials, including the Vice President, Prime Minister, and so on, they all stole Mabati for Karamoja. None of them has been called to order. They've all been engrossed in corruption for a very long time. But they'll not be called to order. I think the biggest offense, the other offense aside from being a thief, Anita Among, her other offense is she has been developing ambitions to run for president. And that's been clear to all and sundry. So they decided to use her theft to say, okay, now that we have a charge against her, let's deal with her once and for all. But otherwise, it's not really the fight against corruption. Otherwise, this whole government, all government officials would all be in jail. Parliament passes, and something we're always quarreling about, trillions of shillings worth of classified. That classified budget is what is used by Mr. Museveni and his son. They're the ones who control it. It's not audited. They do with it as they please. That's also corruption. Mr. Museveni said, no, these ones I have forgiven them. How do you forgive some and not others? How do you choose? Because it should be court to determine eventually. But people were taken to court by the Inspectorate of Government these MPs that were extorting billions of money from government entities. And then he said, now these ones I forgave. So that shows you that this really is not just a fight against corruption. So people should not get overly excited, because he could have forgiven her like he forgave the others. And besides, this is not the first time that we are raising these issues. When I wrote to the IGG twice, asking her to investigate, that time it was Honorable Betty Kame, asking her to investigate issues of corruption in Parliament and so on. She wrote to me saying, I will investigate and so on. There was no interest. Then Mr. Museveni went to Bukedia for a function and he exonerated her. Said, no, these ones you are, after my daughter because of homosexuals and all of this usual talk. But anyway, eventually, like I have said and others have said, the chickens are coming home to roost. Because me, a thief is a thief. So that whole, this one is a mistake, this one is misguided, this one, that's his analogy to try and cover up for some. But as far as I'm concerned, the thief is a thief. I have said severally, and others have said the same, that Uganda is under family rule. That the Museveni family is the one calling shots, not institutions, and that's a sad thing. That's why somebody who is vice president, number 2, prime minister, speaker, number 3, and so on, they get summoned by General Salim Saleh, who is just a presidential advisor. But because he's a brother to Mr. Museveni, he will summon them and they'll go running and bowing down. Why? Because the family is the one in control. The chief of defense forces, who heads the military, ideally is not the one supposed to be investigating corruption. Where is the inspectorate of government in all of this? They're the ones supposed to be leading the charge, because it is the ombudsman. It's the institution that is charged with fighting corruption. But no, it is the head of the military. The military is supposed to be guarding our borders to make sure there is no enemy entrance and all of these different things. But there are institutions which are charged with fighting against corruption. Where are they? They are absent. Why? Because it is the family that is doing all these different things. So anyone that annoys the family, that's why they will say, this one we have forgiven you. Mr. Museveni the other day we were at Chankwan, he said, these ones I have forgiven. This one I will not forgive. So they're the ones that take a decision, as opposed to institutions. That's a precarious state for us to be at as a country. And that's why people should not get overly excited, yeah? It's good that one thief is being called to order, but there's many other thieves. How come for them they are being forgiven? When Mabati iron sheets for Karamoja were stolen, Nandutu was taken to jail, and I'm glad she's in jail. She should be there because she's a thief. But she's not the only thief. The vice president also took Mabati, the speaker, the prime minister, and many others. How come for them they're not in jail? So that's the challenge there is. Now, General Muhoozi, who has hitherto been on rampage, abducting people, torturing them, taking them to his basement, and all of these different things. And people are getting angry with him. Now he's trying to remold himself and metamorphose and say, I'm now the champion against corruption. And I've seen some people getting excited and saying, hey, Muhoozi, oye, and so on. It's a red herring. It's not exactly just the fight against corruption. There is a lot more to it. And so he's trying to make himself appeal to the people of Uganda. In 1971, when General Idi Amin Dada took over power in a coup, people were excited because he was now arresting people and saying, this former government official has been stealing taxpayers' money and so on. He arrested this one, arrested the other, and people were getting excited. But the real fellow and his true colors were about to come through. And eventually they did. No, every office should be accountable. Every office bearer should be accountable. That's it. I can't even say there should be something new about the law or that kind of thing. A thief is a thief. The commission has not been accountable. The speaker has not been accountable. And it is a clarion call I have made several times and numerous other people. But they kept sugarcoating it. Yeah? So whichever office you get to occupy, you've got to be accountable. This has not been the case. When we're asking and saying billions of shillings that are withdrawn by the Chris Obores and others on their personal accounts and then they take to the speaker, what's that money for? Who budgeted for it? Then they were saying the speaker carrying out, corporate social responsibility and so on. What is that? You've got to unpack that. You can't say on one weekend, the speaker spent 5 billion shillings. Speaker's activities in this region. What is that? What do you mean by speaker's activities in Eastern region? On a Saturday and Sunday, 2 days, 6 billion shillings. doesn't make sense at all. Look, I hope that eventually we get to see a robust investigation of the Parliamentary Commission as it has been and the institution of Parliament. There's got to be a reboot. Recruitments. Every so often you see new people and they tell you this one is now a newly hired staff. This one is, and they tell you this one is a relative to this one, is a girlfriend to this one, is a what, and all of these different things. And these are people who are hired. Jobs are not advertised. You don't know how qualified or competent they are. All of these issues have got to be looked into. The commission payroll has gotten bloated unprecedentedly because of too many people that are hired there. Some don't even report to work. And these are things we have said several. People are on the payroll, but you don't know where they sit in Parliament. But they're on the payroll earning money. Then you hear this one is running, is a staff at the Speaker's School or hospital in Bukedia and so on, but they're earning a salary at Parliament. How can these things be right? No. And when you talk about these things, then people say, Joel, you hate the Speaker. Well, I hate corruption. I hate the bad things she's doing, so you deal with them. Don't try and make it like it's personal or like there's a personal fight. No, there isn't. Tuzze twogera ku bintu bino ebbanga ddene abantu abamu nga bagamba nti abo Ssenyonyi ne bannaba activists abo just tebaagala speaker bamuwalana. Ne kinzijukiza bwe nali chairperson wa Kosase nga tunoonyereza ku bitongole ebyenjawulo. Twanoonyereza ku Uganda Airlines omukyala Jennifer Bamutulaki nga tulaga obubbi obulyake n'ebirala aba ne bagamba Ssenyonyi omukyala omuwalana ne ngamba bannange ebiwandiiko biibino. Eventually amazima ne gavaayo. So kati ne ku kino abadde bagamba nti ffe speaker tumuwalana amazima gamaze ne gavaayo. Ebintu bino really oba olina ekikyamu okubiwagira. Kakati twayogeranga ku contract. Speaker yagenda n'awa contract radio ye bagiyita Mama Bukedia FM ye side za Bukedia yajiwa contract ya bumbi 3 ne milioni 10 3.1 billion mbu ekole adverts eza Parliament. Nabuuza ningamba bayise mu procurement waliyo radio stations endala nezi TV endala ezavuddeyo neziraga interest ne wabeerawo okupimamu procurement processes nti kati ono yasaanidde contract tebyaliwo. Ne ku contract eyo ng'ogitunulako abasayinize nga bamanager ba radio ye bakozi mu ofiisi ye ono personal assistant ono akola ki ne basayininga kulinga bamanager bannange bibeera bikyamu. Ne twogera ku yagenda n'ateeka fensi ku makaage ag'obwannannyini agali e Bukedya, fensi y'amasannyalaze naki ya bukadde 503 ku makaage ag'obwannannyini agali e Bukedya. Sente za Parliament. Okuli otya ebintu bwe bityo? Wakati gana amaka gago ga bwannannyini. Si nti maka kyalikoze amakulu singa maka ga abeera speaker nti ono bwafuluma office eyo mulala giyingira amaka ga Parliament egalabirira esalawo nti kakati tuteekeyo fensi tuteekeyo generator n'ebirala. Kati bagenda ne bagula zi generator buli emu bukadde 300 ne bazite emu bagiteeka maka ga speaker endala maka ga deputy speaker. Amaka gaabwe nti kakati amasannyalaze gatera okuvaako maka ga speaker ne maka ga deputy speaker. Kakati bwe gavaako generator erina okugendako. Generator ekunukiriza mu bukadde ebina buli generator ng'ezo sente zamuwa omusolo ku maka ago ag'obwannannyini. Ze nagamba ningamba naye kakati speaker ne deputy speaker mufuna omusaala. Lwaki temubyekolera? Omusaala ne allowances nakina kifenna tufuna n'ababaka lwaki temubyekolera? Naye kati ku maka gammwe ag'obwannannyini ne mukola ebintu bwe bityo. Bwe tubyogerako abo bamuwalana naki sente buwumbi na buwumbi nga ziyisibwa ku akawunti z'abakozi mu Parliament ba Chris Obore bamuteerako obuwumbi 4 billion n'agenda n'azijjayo n'azitwala maka ga speaker. Ono naye ne bamuteerako noono ne bazijjayo ne bazitwala eri speaker. Oba oli awo zaabadde aterekeyo mu basement ye n'ebirala. Ebintu bino bannange buno buba bubbi obw'ekika ekyawaggulu ennyo. Bwe tubyogerako nti tuwalana. Naye kati kirungi nti amazima kakati gatandise okuvaayo. Kakati yes ng'omuntu ndi musanyufu nti nejjeereza n'abalala ffenna babadde boogera ku nsonga zino ez'obubbi mu paalamenti nga batugamba nti mmwe just speaker muwalana naki kati amazima geeyolese n'abali batwogerera amafuukuule kati balaba nabo bali eri boogera bagana ne speaker abadde mubbi nnyo nakiringamba bulijjo tubyogerako nga mutulima empindi ku mugongo nti ffe tumuwalana kati kirungi nti amazima ago gavuddeyo naye sigenda kukyamuukirira nnyo nze ng'omuntu okugamba nti kakati bali mu kulwanyisa nguzi nedda kubanga bwe kiba nti kulwanyisa nguzi abanene bonna mu gavumenti eno ya Mwai Museveni singa bonna bali luzira kati ababba amabaati okuli vice president speaker prime minister n'abalala bangi nga tebali mu kkomera bateekayo Nandutu yekka ate Nandutu simuwolereza kubanga naye yagabba abeereyo mu kkomera naye si yalina okubeerayo yekka naye kati bajja kukwatako abamu abalala ne babaleka Mwai Museveni yali ekyankwanzi n'ababaka be naga nti eba n'ababaka abamu iwaawo baali bakutte mu ssente y'omusolo buwumbi na buwumbi naye bo nabasonyiwa kati ddi lw'osalawo okusonyiwa nti ono ye musonyiye ono sijja kumusonyiwa kati kikulaga nti tebali serious mu kulwanyisiza ddala enguzi obuzibu bwa Anita Among nti ng'ovuddeko kuba nti mubbi abadde atandise okutunula mu ssowaani ya mukama we era ng'ayogera mikwano gy'abamuwetoolodde bakimanyi nti ono gye bujja agala kwesimbawo kuba pulezidenti kakati ne bagaa katukozese obubbi bwe tumukwate ku nkoona otherwise ababbi bangi abaali badde basibibwa nga tebasibibwa so kati ono bwe buzibu bwabaddeko ng'olaba structure za NRM atandizo ziyingira kinga ne baabulirako nti gye bujja eyo njagala nange entebe eyo ennene okugiyingira kati kyovudde olaba n'ekitongole kati bwe kuba kulwanyisa nguzi ekitongole ekya IGG kiriwa kubanga kyekisaanidde era kyekivunaanyizibwa ku nsonga zino IGG namuwandiikira emirundi ebiri nga mugamba okunoonyereza ku nguzi eri ku paalamenti neyeebuzaabuza mu kiseera ekyo Honorable Betty Kamya neyeebuzaabuza ne kati ne ku kino mwalabye IGG yavuddeyo n'agamba nti twafunye ebbaluwa tujja kunoonyereza si be bali mu kunoonyereza Chief of Defence Forces yali mu kunoonyereza CDF bw'obuvunaanyizibwa obubwo n'amagye gaffe kukuuma butebenkevu okulaba nti tewali bazigu bayingira mu ggwanga lyaffe ne kaakati be bali mu kunoonyereza ku nguzi ku lwaki kubanga First Family balaba nti family ya Mwai Museveni balaba nti kati ono abadde ayagala kujja kwesimbawo kuba pulezidenti bano bo bakirabanga ekyabwe era Mwai Museveni bw'avaako oba mutabani oba ki balabanga obusika kati kyovudde olaba bayingidde nnyo mu nsonga eno otherwise kaakati ne Mwai Muhoozi abantu bonna bamwetoolodde babbi abawedde emirimu abamu babatwalako ne mu kkooti n'omulabanga bwakukuluma n'agamba nti ono mukwano gwange Honorable Mawanda lwaki bamusibye naki bamusibye kubanga yeetaba mu kubba ssente y'omuwoomusolo lwaki toyagala bamusibe kati kikulaga nti si just kulwanyisa buli bw'enguzi otherwise gavumenti eno yonna baali badde mu kkomera naye n'ekirala Mwai Muhoozi ekifaananyi kye kyali kyayonoonekera ddala mu bannayuganda yawamba abantu n'abatwala mu zibesimenti n'akuba ono alumbye amaka ga Honorable Kyagulanyi n'akuba mukyala we n'abiteekayo ne ku social media ng'abyewanyisa kugamba abantu bonna nga bamutunuulira ng'omuntu omukyamu kati agezaako kwegula ku bannayuganda abalage nti kati yenze awumye omutwe mu kulwanyisa enguzi wafuuka ddi omulungi ssebo Idi Amin Dada bwe yawamba obukulembeze mu 1971 n'atandika bw'atyo nga bw'asiba abali baminisita b'Obote ono abadde abasente b'omusolo n'ono n'abasiba abantu ne bakyamuukirira naye kalaze entuufu zaamala ne zivaayo kaakati nabula bannayuganda temukyamuukirira nnyo nti kaakati Mwai Muhoozi bw'ali mu kulwanyisa enguzi kusookera ddala si buvunaanyizibwa bwe kale ye kye yalikoze actually abapoliisi be baali badde basiba ne batwala mu kkooti IGG yalina okuba ng'atambuza ensonga zino naye kati agezaako kubeegulako abalage nti yalwanyisa nguzi sinzaga nti waliwo ekiseera ekituufu n'ekiseera ekikyamu ekyokulwanyisa enguzi weeberera olina okuba nga erwanyisibwa kati bbanga lino lyonna letuze twogera ku bintu bino abavubuka ne beekalakaasa ne babasiba abamu bakyawera ennemba n'emisango egyo gyonna lwaki tebaagirwanyisa mu kaseera ako baali tebakimanyi of course baali bakimanyi naye boolyawo nga tebannatutegeera nti ono eventually ajja kwagala okwesimbawo ku ntebe ennene kaakati kumukuba ku nsoloboto naye enguzi yo ina okulwanyisibwa mu kaseera konna obaani nebino ebyokugamba nti bano mbasonyiye kati mwami Museveni yagamba IGG bano ababbi bagendeko mpola bonna obalemerako sente bajja zitwala ze babbye ebunaayira waakiri kaakati bazireka wano ng'alinga awagira enguzi n'abayi n'agamba nti bano ababaka bonna basonyiwa lwaki obasonyiwa ng'ate nabo beetaba mu bulyake kati kikulaga nti si nguzi yokka omusango gwa Anita Among si nguzi yokka yesu obubbi namba emu kubanga ebyo tuzze tubyogerako naye omusango omulala gw'alina kwe kutandika okulaga ambitions nti gye bujja ayagala kwesimbawo ng'omukulembeze w'eggwanga kaakati kyekimuleetera ebizibu waliwo n'obuntu obutonotono abamu bayinza obuyita obutono naye bulaga sigino yali atuuka ekkololo ng'alina bodyguard abambadde amasuuti abaddukira ku mmotoka ye ebyo bizze bikolebwa ku na head of state ne vice president nga bitebimukolebwako naye kati speaker kwegamba ng'alinga eyeeteekateeka ndoza ne bagamba ono nno bwe tutamukuba ku nsoloboto tulaba gy'alaga obuzibu obuliwo nti nga bwe tuzze tukyogera nti tuli under family rule family ya mwami Museveni yefuga yekola buli kimu institutions tezikola ebudula vice president speaker prime minister baani badduka eggule wasali musale ne bavunnamira omutabani n'ebirala bwe bityo kakati family yesalawo si neeyo seeke gye bagamba awo bonna bapakasi bwa mwami Museveni ne baba vice president baani bapakasi ba family kyegamba kyekyo kakati ne speaker parliament bagibulira kyakukola nti seeke kati ono gwe tubagambye seeke nesalawo then parliamentary caucus ya NRM then eventually parliament ate abasinga abalimu ba NRM so otherwise wali baddewo omukisa nti kakati wabeerewo okuvuganya kuba kakati ono batudde eri ne bagamba kati ono gwe tulonze lwaki temwakkiriza bonna ababadde beesimbeyo kale bagende mu lwokaano n'ebirala bwe bityo tooki neekubibwa so kati wewali obuzibu naye ekisingira ddala Honorable Jacob Oboth munnamateeka mulungi amateeka agamanyi naye ebintu bino nti omuntu yenna gwe bateeka mu kifo ate kaakati ono bajja namulaga nti ffe twakulonda pala ababaka si be baakulonda ffe twakulonda kati olina kukola kye twagala okukola amateeka ne bw'aba agamanyi nti kino kikyamu ajja kutendewalirwa ng'alina kukola bali kye bamutumye okukola kyobudde olaba Honorable Jacob Oboth y'omu eyali chairperson wa Ligo n'atambuza ensonga ya age limit n'abalala so kati siyinza kuddaawo era nenkyamuukirira ennyo nti kati gwe baleese amateeka agamanyi n'ebirala bwe bityo tebajja omugamba okukola kyajja okukola kubanga naye baba bajja kumuteekawo ng'omupakasi well era nga bwe nagambye nti akanaafa tekawulira ng'ombe sipiika ono abadde sipiika abadde yeesoma nnyo bambi ng'agyewulira abaka ne bayimuka okwogera gwe shut up nonsense lumu nayimuka ne mugamba damu speaker tojja n'okutuyisaamu wano maaso newankubadde gwe mukulembeze waffe ababaka bawe ekitiibwa ogamba otya omubaka nti byayogera nonsense n'ebirala okay kale lopu kale neetonze nga yeetonda ali mu kubalaata yeebuzaabuza naki juzi n'agamba mbu eno last supper ne ngamba naye era bye yali ayogera bituukiridde ku ye n'agamba n'ogamba opposition nagimalawo era tekyalina makulu era mu parliament eno gye tuddamu opposition tugenda gimiramira naki naye gwe basoose okumira yeye abantu bano beerabira munnange bagenda ne balowooza nti bakitalo nnyo ne batamanya nti gavumenti eno ebakozesa olumala obbakamula mu supu yenna nebakanyuga eri katusubire abalala nabo banaayiga nti ogenze mu kifo kati balonze Jacob Oboth era enamba bazirina soba oliawo yayinza okuyitamu kati naye ayinza okuddaawo n'alowooza nti abantu bano be bakinkoledde n'akola buli kye baagala n'ebimenya amateeka naki teerabira examples weziri nnyingi abantu abakozeseddwa bwe bamaliriza ne babakanyuga ebweru. The Honourable Oboth who has been selected, and again like I've said it's family rule, so the family chooses. It is not this sake, I don't know, the parliamentary caucus of the NRM or eventually parliament and so on. No, the family chooses. Now they've chosen him. He's a lawyer, a good lawyer. He knows the law. But the challenge about these people who are handpicked and bequeathed a position, he will get there and probably want to become subservient because they gave him the position. So even things that don't merit, that don't, that are not in tandem with the law, he might want to do them just to please the other people. I hope he will be smarter than that. I hope he will know that there's numerous examples, including Anita Among, that they will use you and then throw you under the bus. I hope he will be alive to that reality. Because when they get there, all of a sudden they imagine they're very powerful. You saw the speaker, how she would respond to MPs. You shut up, you nonsense. One time I told her, Madam Speaker, please have respect for members. You might be our leader, but these are honorable members of parliament. Respect their views. You can't tell a member, you're speaking nonsense, you shut up and all of that. Then she pretended to be apologizing, but she was really gloating over the issue. Then all of a sudden she says, this is your last supper. I said, no. Yeah, it has turned out it was her last supper. Then recently she was also saying, the opposition, we have swallowed them. Now we are going to wallop them. The 12th parliament, there will be no opposition. Who has been swallowed and walloped? It is herself. So people need to learn. Unfortunately, there's numerous examples, but they don't learn from them. That you get overly excited because you have been bequeathed a position, forgetting that they will use you and throw you under the bus.
In the first place, congratulate the 11th Parliament for successfully, we have concluded as it's within our calendar of schedule of work. And I would like in that same spirit to congratulate the 12th Parliament that will commence, I think on the 24th, 25th, as the fully constituted 12th Parliament. However, in the line of the 5 years where we've been executing our duties as members of the 11th Parliament, we have had great challenges. So the withdrawal of the outgoing speaker from the race, I think that was very thoughtful and well noted because there was a big public outcry. I think if she had insisted to keep in the race, probably Ugandans would walk here and burn off this building, because you know the allegations that we have been a center of corruption, the 11th Parliament. The exhibition was media, the luxurious life of the presiding officer, and the commencement of wealth within this short time of 5 years. So this was a center of controversy, and I don't think if she would still stay in the race, Ugandans will still trust this building. Well, everything, it has its own time, and any timing is good for activity. As a Christian, we know that there is time for everything. Leaders come and leaders go, but leadership remains. Probably this was the most appropriate time. So for now, we would focus on how do we end and fight this so that it doesn't happen to those other presiding officers would come. The mistakes that have been there, we have gotten a lesson out of it, and we hope it will be better for the next houses to come. We have had our members from the NRM Parliamentary Caucus, for example, the Honorable Ssenyonyi, the Honorable Saropendi, the Honorable Oriane Wadri. We've had so many honorables to the extent that they even ran around the whole country collecting signatures. They rallied constituents to request or force put task their members of parliament to sign a motion to censure the commissioners. And when you talk about the commission, you talk also about the head, because the commission is headed by the Speaker of Parliament. So if a member of the NRM echoes out, that means the caucus has already taken an initiative. So we have had our members that have been concerned. That means as the NRM caucus members, we have been concerned. However, we have limitations. You remember that my colleagues came up with report and signatures and all the requirements. What happened? They never gave them space to discuss on the floor. And as members, we have limitations. We have a binding document, which is called the Rules of Procedure, that we follow while executing our duties in this parliament. So these rules empower the speaker with a lot of privileges and power, especially because she has the mandate to give you the microphone. And where do you legislate as a member of parliament is within the plenary. So if the presiding officer doesn't accord you, I mean, I don't know which language you'd use. Maybe you're handicapped or you've been denied a chance, so you don't have access to air out your view. So automatically you become limited in your execution of duties. Gerulgamba nti okalyadda kaddadda. Kati endowooza ya speaker obutaddawo ekyo yakoze kyamaanyi era twagala omuyozaayoza n'okuyozaayoza paalamenti ye-11 tukoze emirimu gyaffe ne tumaliza n'okuyozaayoza paalamenti ye-12 ejja nga tugikwasa enkasi tusuubire bajja kukola ebisingawo. Paalamenti eno ebaddeko obulumika bungi. parliament eno erokeddwamu okulya enguzi obulyake obukenuzi n'obulabbayi ng'ate kisuubirizibwa nti kiviira ddala ku mutwe wano olabira nti sipiika mu myaka gino emitono asobodde okufuna ebintu bingi abantu abamu bye bakoledde emyaka 3 nga tebannaba bifuna emmotoka ez'ebbeeyi amayumba amangi entambuza y'ensimbi wano oluusi committees tugenda otuuka mu koota ng'essente ziweddewo oluusi departments essente zonna ziweddewo so naba nti emirimu gikoleddwa ndibangalye kakati ng'ate bw'avaayo ne yeesimbawo wandabye nti abannayuganda bazze ne bakuma ku kizimbe kino omuliro so ekyo kye yakoze okudda ku mabbali abantu abamu basobole okukwata nga naye bwe yeebuulirira ekirungi mu kristo nga nze fe abakristo tuba tugenda okusoma mu misa nga tetunaba kutandika tugamba gunsingidde ddala so kyensuubira nti kakati sipiika kyaba yeekubamu nga bakyamunoonyerezaako nti gumusinze ate mukwano gwa paapa atera okugenda e Vatican ku ttaka ettukuvu yeebuulirire yezze bupya Uganda tomanya bw'anaasaba ekisonyiwo ng'oggyeko ekyokunsi neryo n'ekisonyiwo ekyomuggulu naye ng'emirimu nti gibadde tegikoleddwa bulungi nti naffe ababaka tunyigiriziddwa wabaddewo akakundi k'ababaka nga kamuguukira kokka nga gwe n'okumutuukira tomutuukira nga baba mu blackmail oyo takwagala nja kulaba ekyokulabirako sipiika bwe yali aggulawo essomero n'amaka ebukedya twagenda byampaka ate ovuze emmotoka ogenze bukedya oteeka otukaali omubuuza ategere nti woli naye nga ne bw'omubuuza tekigasa kubanga tekina kigenda kuyamba so enkola eyo etulemeseza abamu okukola emirimu naye katonda atuyambye ntumaliriza ekisanja era bw'olaba ebibaddewo nti ababaka abamu bw'obabuuza nabo bajja kugamba nti abataakomawo balina akakwate ku ofiisi eyo bajja gamba ofiisi eyo yatulwanisa olw'okubanga yali eyagala abantu tulina ababaka baffe ng'omubaka Ssekikubo Saropendi omubaka Orian Wadri ababaka bangi abadduka mu Uganda yonna nga banoonya emikono nga commission eno yeediibudde yeewadde ensimbi ate jjukira commission agikubiriza ye speaker parliament ezigaza baba okutte commission oba okutte amaloboozi ago agaba memba baffe ab'omu NRM kitegeeza nti NRM nga caucus nadde twafuna forum nene naye tutegeeza nti eddoboozi amaloboozi gawulikaka naye ate ne baakola ekyo nga bayise mu mitendera bamuwa space order paper tebaweebwa mwaganya kuteekebwa ku order paper era ebyo nabyo ne bifiira awo so amaloboozi gaaliwo ate ng'omubaka parliament okawa osobola okuleeta ensonga zo ye floor ya parliament bwe bakumma omukisa ng'ate alina n'omukisa speaker takuwadde oba tolina walala osobola kwogera. In this 11th parliament we also had a clique of MPs. I think there are not more than 40 that did surround the office of the speaker to the extent that even if you would want to officially visit the office of the speaker you'll find them conversing and some of us were not privileged to go to her house like the rest would do so that also made work difficult and this group was basically in charge of blackmailing telling who wants you, who dislikes you. So there's a lot of malice. And you find that they are the most people that enjoy, they would be on trips, they abused monies of the committees because they had to sustain them. But I also urge the Right Honourable Speaker, she's a fellow Catholic, before we say Mass, we always confess. So I confess the Almighty God and to you, my brothers and sisters. So being a friend to the Holy Land and Vatican, and she's been visiting almost all the popes, I hope she repents and the Lord will find a proper space for her to repent as the earthly proceedings also go.
Today, the 18th of May, 2026, I, Alioni Odria, MP, Iringa South, wish to start this press briefing by thanking the Almighty God for this day. I want to thank His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of the Republic of Uganda. And I also want to thank MK, the CDF of Uganda, for the work, for the job well done, for the steps they have started taking to fight corruption in this country. As you are all aware, that I am one of the candidates for the position of Speaker of the 12th Parliament of the Republic of Uganda. It is in record. I mentioned and I said, I am going to be the Speaker of the 12th Parliament of Uganda. If not me, somebody else, but not Anita Among. And now that I have another candidate who has joined the race, he's a good man, and I'm ready to battle it with him. The fight against corruption in this country is still on. It has just started from Parliament. Be warned. And I must send this message to MK that the next move should be, and is going to be, Ministry of Finance from this week. Ministry of Finance should get ready. Auditor General should get ready. We need to clean up this country without fear or favor. We need to be corruption-free country as Uganda. Back to Parliament. My message goes to MK. We need to clean up this Parliament. The 12th Parliament should be a different Parliament for this country. We want the clerk to Parliament to be checked, to be investigated, none other than Adolf. We're also calling for the office of Director Finance of Parliament, who has been the only coordinator of Anita Among in the entire system. Director Finance, Mr. Onobwa of Parliament's office must be checked. We are calling for Office of Director Communications, Chris Obore of Parliament, to be checked against corruption. We are calling for Department of HR of Parliament to be checked. The leadership of Anita Among employed over 500 staff illegally here without any job advert, either in the newspapers or internally, not there. We are calling Head of Transport and Logistics, Director should be checked. How much money is spent in a month in the names of washing cars, buses? Where are the buses parked? Where are our vehicles parked? Who owns who? Who owns what? We are calling for HR department, as I said, needs to be checked properly. Therefore, I also call upon MK to join in this struggle to see that the committees of Parliament, especially committee chair of budget and the committee chair of finance with their members need to be checked, interrogated, whether in the Parliament, now in the 12th Parliament or 11th Parliament, they must be checked. They must be checked. Therefore, the journey to set this country free corruption has just started. I repeat, I thank His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni and MK. I've never pronounced, but today I want to declare, I now believe and I have hope MK is the most suitable next president of this country. I stand by that. We are fed up. We warned them, they refused. I also want to welcome, by the way, since November last year, there has been censorship of the media here in this Parliament. Since November, NTV was censored. Why? Today, officially, I have brought in myself, NTV. You're most welcome. From the gate, nobody should block you. I found the police had blocked you. The 11th parliament where Anita Among had the powers has been dissolved. There is no press censorship here. The press, you have to report A as A, B as B. I thank all of you. Why do you doubt my call for Minister of Finance to be checked by MK and his team and all the security agencies? The president mentioned it clearly in Kololo. You remember State of the Nation address? He said, I used to hear that there is corruption in the Parliament of Uganda and the Ministry of Finance. Now I can confirm that I have evidence. So if the president can say so, who is Leonie Odria, not to open up that MK and all the security agencies should check Ministry of Finance. There's evidence. By the way, the Ministry of Finance in their activities was coordinated by Minister Musasiz Henry. He must be checked as well. He's the coordinator of finance and the parliament. He was the closest to Anita Among. Minister Musasiz is the coordinator of finance. Do you need more? The rest is for security agencies and MK. On. I am a candidate waiting to be subjected to internal party NRM primary elections with my good friend Oboth. I am a candidate. It's good that Anita Among is not in the race now. So the journey is going to be smooth and easy without corruption. The President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is not a fool. He always gives time for events. So he gave himself time, as well as MK, who declared that the biggest problem of Uganda is corruption. So I thank His Excellency, and I thank MK, and I thank all the security agencies for what is taking place, going on now against corruption. I have not checked my bank account, but most members are saying yes, they have not received any salary. So I'm not sure, unless otherwise. Yes.
Was it also eaten?
Sorry?
Was it also eaten?
You know what Parliament has been going through. You all know that corruption has been here. We are now cleaning up. You don't know? Moses, you don't know? I think so. That's why we're saying Parliament and Finance should be checked. So let them check and find out what happened to the salary if people have not received.